he did a beautiful translation of the Piyut from Rav Sadia Gaon. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I really want to do a heartfelt thanks to the sponsors from KJ who made this evening possible, Vanessa and Ray Chalm, in memory of Miriam Bat Eliyahu and Eliyahu Ben Miriam, Barbara and Abeses, in honor of all the great work that Rabbi Meir Laniado has done, all these years for KJ Sephardic. And I want to tell you personally that ever since, the rabbi came to KJ, and I always go to the Slichot with Benny. We have the Slichot Express, at least from, our neighborhood with Benny. It's really the express. It gets there in 6 minutes. And, ever since the rabbi came, the ruach of partnership has, that was already greatly increased. So, kol hakavod lecha. And the Megillah itself is sponsored by Linda and Jeffrey SS, Anat and Louis Menajed, Nicole and Marco Sardar, Lisa and Howard Shams, Lisa and Richard Cohen, Geraldine and Jeremy Cohen, in honor of all the work that the Chazan Ben Izalta has done on the front lines as a doctor, a pulmonary radiologist, in one of the hospitals that was in the front line of fighting COVID. And we're so grateful to you, Binyamin. I cannot see you but like I told you many times, we have a lot of hakarat hatov for you, for all you do, not just as a as a chazan, as a community member, as a brother-in-law, a great brother-in-law and a great friend, but as a doctor. So thank you all for being here. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Binyamin to introduce us to Megillat Ruth.
Thank you very much, Ari. Aaron Afelalo, our president, dear friend, mentor, ברשות הרב, מאיר לניאדו, ברשות החזנים, Sasha Wazana, and Dr. Benny Zalta. Would like to express our deep gratitude to Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for enabling us to redefine kibbutz galuyot in this time, east, mid, west, and also people from outside in different places getting together to learn Torah the night before Shavuot. I'd like to start with a quick introduction to Megillat Ruth. What I'm going to do, I want to talk about a few questions that basically are the center of the central theme of our story, Megillat Ruth. One moment. Here. Okay, so tonight, as we're going to learn together about Megillat Ruth, I would like to discuss when did the story happen, who wrote Megillat Ruth, and why. How come Ruth was able to convert to Judaism? We have a commandment in Sefer Devarim, Lo yavo amoni u'moavi bikal Hashem ad olam. How come Ruth made it? What was Ruth's merit that her great-grandson was David HaMelech? And finally, what are the various reasons we read Megillat Ruth on Shavuot? So first of all, when did the story happen? The Megillat Ruth, the story starts with Vayhi b'imei Shvot HaShoftim. Shvot HaShoftim, we learn that this is a very specific period of time during the Nevi'im Rishonim. The second part of the Tanakh is the Nevi'im. The first book is Yehoshua, and the second, Morai v'Rabotai, the second is Sefer Shoftim. And by the way, we spoke about family Morali, we spoke about family Shalmi. Both of their children are my students in Shiur Navi. We learn in 5th grade Sefer Shoftim this year. Vayhi ra'av ba'aretz, there is a famine in the land of Canaan. A gentleman named Elimelech, a very important person, takes his pekalach, takes his stuff, and moves out of Eretz Israel. Where? To the land of Moab. So Megillat Ruth, the story of Megillat Ruth happens when there is a famine in Eretz Israel during the time of the Shoftim. Now, if we look closely at the fact that there is a famine in the land of Israel, we can learn that Elimelech made a big step by leaving the country. And the Malbim says that the fact that he left the country, well, first of all, he left the country because he was among the rich people, and he was afraid that the poor will start beg for money. And then quickly, because, remember, we're talking about the time of the Shofetim, there was no Melech in Eretz Israel, there was no higher authority. Therefore, he was afraid that they will start asking for money, the poor, and then they will start looting their properties and steal his money. Therefore, he left the land of Israel. Now, who wrote it? You know, we have different Megillot. Megillat Eicha was written by Yirmiyah. Shir HaShirim was written by Shlomo. Megillat Esther, right? We know who wrote them, but who wrote Megillat Ruth? So Megillat Ruth was written by Hanavi Shemuel. And in Shmuel Aleph, Perek Tetzayin, chapter 16, Pasuk Aleph, after the debacle of Shaul HaMelech, Hashem comes to Shmuel and he tells him, Ad matay ata mitabel, until when you're going to grieve about what happened with Shaul? Chalas, move on. Go find a new king. Who's the new king? I'm going to show you. He did not tell him that it's David HaMelech, but he told him that he wants him to go to the father of the future king, which is Ishai, where? From Bet Alachmi, which is in Shevet Yehuda. Bet Alachmi, a prominent, very important family. And if you look at the first pasuk in Megillat Ruth, you will see that it's the same family. How could Ruth convert to Judaism if the Torah prohibits the marrying the Moabites and the Ammonites with marrying with them, Ammoni or Moavi? There is an isur, there is a prohibition in Sefer Devarim, lo yavo Ammoni u'Moavi b'ka'al Hashem ad olam. So there is a Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch elaborates on the 613 mitzvot. So this mitzvah, it's mitzvah 561. And it says as follows, Shelo yavo Ammoni u'Moavi b'ka'al Hashem. They derive from here that the commandment is only on the Zecharim, only on the male, not on the ladies. And therefore Ruth was able to marry eventually with Boaz, which was, by the way, Rosh HaSanhedrin, the chief of the Sanhedrin. Now, speaking about Ruth marrying the head of the Sanhedrin at that time, also was the great-grandmother of David HaMelech. What was her merit? Okay, we know that she stayed with her mother-in-law, which is by itself an amazing thing, right? Unheard of. But what was really that merit that granted her to be the great-grandmother of David HaMelech? If we read about the departure, the death of Elimelech, we know that Naomi stayed alone. And then after Elimelech died, Machlon v'Chilion married Moabites. They married Orpah and Ruth. They could have gone back to Eretz Israel, but they decided to stay. And then they both died, and she was left alone. Vatishaer ha'isha mishnei yeladea u'me'isha, from her husband. She was left alone. And then what happens? Two daughters-in-law, one named Orpah, and the second Ruth. Now, if you look closely, tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, when you read, or on Thursday, on Friday, when you read the Megillah, you will see that the names in the Megillat Ruth were given to the different characters to symbolize something. So, for example, Orpah was not her real name, but it was given to her because Oref means the back of a person, or to be more accurate, the nape. There is an expression in Hebrew that when you turn your back to someone, hu hifna lo oref, meaning he turned his back and he left. That's an act of, right? That's an act of moving on, but also a disloyalty. So that was Orpah, the other daughter-in-law. Now, what about Ruth? Well, Naomi, when she sees that Machlon and Chilion died, she comes to Ruth and Orpah, and she tells them, listen, you're still young. You can start a new beginning, start a new family. Go to yourself, find new husbands, and raise new families. Ruth tells her, do not try to urge me. Stop. I want to stay with you. And we have the famous phrase, wherever you go, I will go. The death parts me from you. Only the death. And then look what happens. Naomi continues to urge Ruth, go, I am Mara, I am not Naomi. She even changes her name. Go, there is no bracha in staying with me, in other words. And then the Megillah tells us, ותרא, שמואל, ותרא כי מתאמצת היא ללכת איתה, ותחדל לדבר אליה. Now, I brought this translation from the Art Scroll, and it's very interesting to see how the Art Scroll translates the word מתאמצת. It says determined, but you know, מתאמצת, and Ibn Ezra says that מתאמצת מבניין יתפעל, which means that it's a reflexive action. מתאמץ בבניין יתפעל, meaning that it comes from within, like מתפלל, something that you do from within outside, from inside outside. When she saw that she really means it, she really wants to stay with her, for the sake of staying with her, for the sake of supporting her. Pure act of chesed, ותחדל לדבר אליה. And she stopped to argue with her. And so they went back. They went back to Eretz Israel. Now, remember, so we talked about Shmuel anointing David HaMelech, but you know what? And Ruth is marrying Boaz, all from Shevet Yehuda. And we know that this is how the Malchut Yehuda starts, right? Not quite. If we go back to Parashat Vayeshev, we read the story of Yehuda and Tamar. The story of Yehuda and Tamar was very, first of all, it was in the middle of the Mechirat Yosef, of selling of Yosef, right in the middle. And the whole story of what happened, he had sons and they died one after the other. The first one, married Tamar. Tamar did not have kids, but she wanted to have kids from that family. So Yehuda urged her to stay with her father. She did. She kept herself holy and modest. And eventually what happened? They end up being together. And the whole story unfolds. Tamar, Yehuda finds out that she was with someone. He did not know that it was himself. So he said, and as she was about to get executed, she reveals the identity. She doesn't say the name, but Yehuda finds out that it was he. And then he says the words, Tzadeka mimeni. Automatically, in Bereshit Rabbah, Chazal tells us, Bat Kol, right, rose and said, from this person, from this tribe, we will have kings to Am Yisrael. So everything started with Yehuda and Tamar, continued with Ruth and David HaMelech. So why do we read the Megillah on Shavuot? There are various reasons. First of all, when Naomi and Ruth return to Eretz Israel, it says, "V'hem ba'u Bethlehem b'tchilat k'tzir chitim." We know if you grow up in Israel, you know that Chag HaShavuot has different names, such as Chag HaBikurim. It's the time of the harvest, right? That's the month of Sivan. So the story really took place during the month of Sivan. The second opinion about Shavuot and Megillah was that really the day of the birth and the day of the passing of David HaMelech were on Shavuot. He died on the same day, Vav Sivan, and he was born on Vav Sivan. Also, the story teaches us about the significance of Gerei Tzedek. And Gerei Tzedek is an idea that can teach us, Am Yisrael, what is it to be in Brit? What is it to be in a covenant, in relationship? That when we come together, and Rabbi Leyl will talk about it, that level of selflessness that is so much needed. Even when you don't have to do something, and yet you do it for the sake of the other person, or for your partner, that is a really true brit. And that that really beautifully manifested itself in the story of Ruth HaMoaviyah. And the final reason why we read Megillat Ruth during the month of Shavuot is the brit was sealed by two words, Na'aseh v'nishma. First of all, we will do, and then we will hear what you want us to do. That level of readiness, that level of zeal, of clinging with each other, that signifies everything that Ruth did toward Naomi. And that is what is expected from us, from Hashem. He wants us to be with us. He wants us to be with him, not just in good times, but also in difficult times. And there is no beautiful example to such an idea as tonight, that we are together. So we really, we're very appreciative, very grateful for the opportunity. And we hope that you will enjoy the beautiful reading of the Chazanim and the Divrei Torah. Thank you very much, and have a Chag Shavuot Sameach filled with ahava and tikva. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Benjamin. I love Ahava and Tikva. So the next part of the program is the first musical part, and we're going to have our two chazanim who are going to split the Megillat Ruth half and half. The first two chapters, our chazan Sasha Wazana is going to read it with a Moroccan nusach, and then he's going to turn it over to Benjamin Zalta to do chapters 3 and 4 with a Syrian nusach. Sasha, you're on. That's it. You're unmuted. You're good.
Thank you, Avi. Chazak Baruch Beni for this beautiful Torah, and Kvod Harav Meir Laniado, and all our president Ari Filalo, all the member of our synagogue and the MKJ, and of course my dear friend Beni Zalta. So we're gonna start with Perek Aleph. Maybe I don't know, I'm not sure if Anais is going to display the link, on the Perek first, on the Zoom, but I can start in a minute. Okay, so I'll start. ויהי בימי שפוט השופטים, ויהי רע בארץ, וילך איש מבית לחם יהודה לגור בשדה מואב, הוא ואשתו ושני בניו, ושם האיש אלימלך, ושם אשתו נעמי, ושם שני בניו מחלון וחיליון אפרתים, מבית לחם יהודה ויבואו שדה מואב, ויהיו שם, וימות אלימלך איש נעמי, ותישאר היא ושני בניה, ויישאו להם נשים מואביות, שם האחת עורפה, ושם השני רות, וישבו שם כ10 שנים, וימותו גם שניהם מחלון וחיליון, ותישאר האישה משני ילדיה ומאישה, ותקום היא וכלותיה, ותשוב בשדה מואב, כי שמעה בשדה מואב, כי פקד אדוני את עמו, לתת להם לחם, ותצא מן המקום אשר הייתה שם, ושתי כלותיה עמה, ותלכנה בדרך לשוב אל ארץ יהודה. ותאמר נעמי לשתי כלותיה, לכנה שובנה אישה לבית עמה, יעש אדוני עמכם חסד כאשר עשיתם עם המתים ועמדי, ייתן אדוני לכם ומצאנה מנוחה אישה בית אישה, ותשק להן ותישאנה קולן, ותבכנה ותאמרנה לה, כי איתך נשוב לעמך. ותאמר נעמי שובנה בנותיי, למה תלכנה עמי, העוד לי בנים במעי, והיו לכם לאנשים. שובנה בנותיי לכנה, כי זקנתי מיות לאיש, כי אמרתי יש לי איש תקווה, גם הייתי הלילה לאיש וגם ילדתי בנים, עליהן תסבנה עד אשר יגדלו, עליהן תעגנה לבלתי היות לאיש על בנותיי, כי מר לי מאוד מכם, כי יצא בי יד אדוני. ותישאנה קולן, ותבכנה עוד, ותשק עורפה לחמותה, ורות דבקה בה, ותאמר הנה שבה יבלתך אל רמה ואלוהיה, שובי אחרי בנתך, ותאמר רות אל תפגעי בי, לעוזבר לשוב מאחרייך, כי אל אשר תלכי אלך, ובאשר תליני אלין, עמך עמי ואלוהיך אלוהי, באשר תמותי אמות, שם אקבר, כה יעשה אדוני לי וכה יוסיף, פי המוות יפריד ביני ובינך, ותרקי מתאמצת היא ללכת איתה, ותחדל לדבר אליה, ותלכנה שתיהם עד בואגה בית לחם, ויהי כבואנה בית לחם, ותהום כל העיר עליהן, ותאמרנה הזאת נעמי, ותאמר עליהן אל תקראנה לי נעמי, קראנה לי מרה, כי אמר שדי לי מאוד, אני מלאה לחצי, ברקע משיבני אדוני, למה תקראנה לי נעמי, ואדוני ענה בי ושדי, הראה לי, ותשוב נעמי, ורות המואביה חלתה עמה, השבה משדה מואב בהמה, באו בית לחם בתחילת קציר שעורים, ולנעמי מודה לאישה, איש גיבור חיל, משפחת אלימלך ושמו בועז, ותאמר רות המואביה אל נעמי, אלך נא השדה והלקותה בשיבורים, אחר אשר אמצא חן בעיניו, ותאמר לה לכי איתי, ותלך ותבוא ותלקט בשדה אחרי הקוצרים, ויקר מקריה חלקת השדה לבועז אשר ממשפחת אלימלך, והנה בועז בא מבית לחם, ויאמר לקוצרים אדוני עמכם, ויאמרו לו יברכך אדוני, ויאמר בועז לנערו הניצב על הקוצרים, למי הנערה הזאת ביען, הנער הניצב על הקוצרים, ויאמר נערה מואביה היא השבה עם נעמי משדה מואב, ותאמר על עבודה עינה ועזבתי בעמרים אחרי הקוצרים, ותבוא ותעמוד מאז הבוקר ועד עתה זה שיבת הבית מעט, ויאמר בועז אל רות הלא שמעתי ביתי, אל תלכי ללקוט בשדה אחר, וגם לא תעבורי מזה וכל תדבקים על נערותיי עינייך בשדה אשר יקצורון, והלכת אחריהם, הלא ציוויתי את הנערים למלדי נוגך וצמית, והלכת אל הכלים ושתית מאשר נשאבון הנערים, ותיפול על פניה ותשתחו ארצה, ותאמר אליו מדוע מצאתי חן בעיניך להכירני, ואנוכי נוכריה. ויען בועז ויאמר לה הוגד לי כל אשר עשית את חמותך אחרי מות אישר, ותעזבי אביך ואמך בארץ מולדתך, ותלכי אל עם אשר לא ידעת תמול שלשון. ישלם אדוני פעולך ודהי משכורתך שלמה. מעם אדוני אלוהי ישראל אשר באת לחזות תחת כנפיו ותאמר אמסכן בעיניך אדוני כי ניחמתי וכי דיברתי על לב שפחתך ואנוכי לא אהיה כאחת שפחותיך ויאמר לבועז לעת האוכל בוא שלום ואכלת מן הלחם וטבל פיתך בחומץ ותשב מצד הקוצרים ויצבות לקלי ותאכל ותשבע ותותר ותקום ללקט ויצא בועז את נערה לאמור גם בין האומרים תלקט ולא תחלימוה וגם שול תשולו לה מן הצוותים ועזבתם וליקטה ולא תגערו בה ותלקט בשדה עד הערב ותחבוד את אשר ליקטה ויהי כאפס שעורים ותישא ותבוא העיר ותראה חמותה את אשר ליקטה ותוצא ותיתן לה את אשר הותירה מסובעה ותאמר לחמותה איפה ליקט היום ואנה עשית יהי מכירך ברוך ותגד לחמותה את אשר עשית עמו ותאמר שם האיש אשר עשיתי עמו בו היום בועז ותאמר נעמי לכלתה ברוך הוא לאדוני אשר לא עזב חסדו את החיים ואת המתים ותאמר לנעמי קרוב לנו האיש מגואלנו ותאמר רות המואביה גם כי אמר אלי עם הנערים אשר לי תדבקין עד אם תילו את כל הקציר אשר אני ותאמר נעמי אל רות כלתה טוב ביתי כי תצאי עם נערותיו ולא יפגעו בה בשדה אחר ותדבק בנערות בועז ללקט הקלות כציר השעורים וקציר החיג'ים ותשב את חמותה.
חזק וברוך, סשה, חזק וברוך.
תודה רבה.
Now, Binyamin Zalta is going to start chapter 3 with the Nusach, the Syrian Nusach. Ben, can you hear me? I'm muting you. Go ahead. You're on.
Thank you.
Bechavod.
ותאמר לה נעמי חמותה ביתי הלא אבקש לך מנוח אשר יכאב לך ועתה הלא בועז מודעתנו אשר היית את נערותיו הנה זורד גורס שעורים הלילה ורחס וסחת ושמת סמלותייך עלייך וירדת הגורן אל תוודעי לאיש עד כלותו לאכול ולשתות והיא בשוכבו וידעת את המקום אשר ישכב שם ובת תגלי את מרגלותיו ושכב והוא יגיד לך את אשר תעשי ותאמר אליה כל אשר תאמרי אלי אעשה ותרד הגורן ותעש ככל אשר סבתה חמותה ויאכל בועז ויש, ויטב לבו, ויבוא, תשכב בכסי הערימה, ותבוא בלט, תיכל מריותיו ותשכב, ויהי בחסי הלילה, ירד האיש ולפת, הנה אישה שוכבת, מרגלותיו, ויאמר מיעט, ותאמר, אנוכי רות קמתך, ופרסת כנפיך על אמתך, כי גואל אתה. ויאמר, ברוכת לאדוני ביתי, הטב, חסדך האחרון מן הראשון, לבלתי לכת, אחרי הבחורים, אם דל, עשיר, ועתה, אל תראי, כל אשר תאמרי אעשה לך, ויודע כל שער עמי, כי אשת חיל את. ועתה כי אמנם כי גואל אנוכי וגם, יש גואל קרוב ממני, ליני הלילה, והיה בבוקר, אם יגאלך אותו בכלל, ואם לא יחפוש לך הולך, וגאלתיך אנוכי אדוני, שכבי עד הבוקר, ותשכב מגנותיו עד הבוקר, ותקום בטרם יכיר איש את רעהו, ויאמר אל יוודע כי באה האישה גורם, ויאמר אבים המטפחת אשר עלייך חזיבה או חזבב, ימות שעורים וישת עליה, ויבוא העיר ותבוא אל חמותיו, ואומר מיעטי ותגד לה את אשר עשה לאיש, ותאמר שעורים האלה נתן לי, כי אמר אלי אל תבואי רקם אל חמותך, ותאמר שבי ביתי עד אשר תדעין איך יפול דבר, כי לא ישפוט האיש דין אלא הדבר היום. ובועז על השער, וישב שם, הנה הגואל עובר, אשר דבר בועז ויאמר, צורה שבא פה אלי אלמוני, אלוני אלמוני, ויסר וישב, ויקח 10 אנשים מזקני העיר, ויאמר שבו פה, וישבו, ויאמר לגואל, חלקת השדה אשר לאחינו לאלימלך, מכירה נעמי השבה משדה מואב, ואני אמרתי לאוזנך לאמור, נגד יושבים ונגד זקני עמי, יתגלגל אם לא יגל, אגיד לי ואדע כי אין זולתך לכל, ואנוכי אחריך, יאמר אנוכי אחד. ויאמר בועז ביום קנותך שדה מיד נעמי, ומת רות המואביה להשתמט פניתה, להקים שממת עלה חלקו. ויאמר הגואל לא אוכל לגולי בנשי נחלתי, כי ארגך אתה את גאולתי, כי לא אוכל לגול. וזאת לפנים בישראל, على גאולה ועל תמורה לכם תברך, שלח איש לעלו ונתן לרעהו, וזאת התעודה בישראל. ויאמר הגואל לבועז כדי לך, וישלוף לעלו. ויאמר בועז לזקנים בכל העם, חגים אתם היום כי קניתי אשר למלך ועת, כל אשר לחלון ומחלון מיד נעמי, וגם את רות המואביה אשת מחלון. עניתי לי לאישה להקים שם המת על נחלתו ולא כרת שם המת מעין אחד ומשער מקומו, עדים אתם היום. ויאמרו עולם אשר בשער והזקן ימני יתן אדוני את האישה הבאה אל ביתך כרחל וכלאה אשר בנו שתן ישראל ועשה חיל באפרתה וכרשם בבית לחם. ויהי ביתך כבית פרס אשר ילדת אמר ליהודה מן הזרע אשר יתן אדוני לך מן הנערה הזאת. ויקח בועז את רות ותן לו לאישה ויבוא אליה יתן אדוני לה הריון ותלד בן. ותאמרנה הנשים אל נעמי ברוך אדוני אשר יושיט לך פועל היום ותקרא שמו בישראל. והיה לך נמשי בנפש ולכלכל את שיבתך ככלתך אשר אהבתך ילדתו אשר התובה לך משבעה בנים. ותפתח נעמי את הילד ותשתהו בחיקה ותהי לו לאומנת ותקראנה לו השכן עוד שם לאמור יולד בן לנעמי ותקראנה שמו עובד הוא אבישי אבי דוד. ואלה תולדות פרס. פרס הוליד את חסרון וחסרון הוליד את רם ורם הוליד את עמינדב ועמינדב הוליד את נחשון ונחשון הוליד את סלמן וסלמון הוליד את בועז ובועז הוליד את עובד ועובד הוליד את ישי וישי הוליד את דוד.
Hazak u'baruch. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Binyamin and Sasha. We love to hear you, and it's beautiful to hear these two nustahim from these galuyot that we moved from. Now we're going to turn it over to Rabbi Mayel Anyado. I'm going to unmute you, who is going to talk to us about greater and deeper issues related to Megillat Ruth, and as they relate to the fundamentals of having great relationships. Bechabod.
Thank you, Ari. I'm really loving this partnership and joining together. This is one of the silver linings that is coming out of the situation. You are on the west side, we're on the east side, but now that we're all forced to be out of our Batei Knesiyot, we're able to join together on Zoom. Tonight, actually, in my class, I have a 7 p.m. Pirkei Avot class, and one of the things I was talking about that I think we've really missed out on, and I think the Moroccan community in particular really emphasizes that I missed from when I was much younger, and we did do last year for Tikun Leyl, is recitation. somebody's, okay. Recitation, the power of recitation, and how it moves us emotionally. Last year for Tikun Leyl Shavuot, we had about 25 people in a room, traded chapter, pedek after pedek after pedek, and it was only a little bit of explanation here and there, but it was just the reading together that was so powerful emotionally. I find that we need to emphasize that more. And Baruch Hashem, just now we had the opportunity, although it's not the same at all, live, sitting in the room together and that energy, but still that same mode of recitation. But I'd also like to spend some time and understand a little bit about Megillat Ruth and Shavuot. So firstly, when we talk about Shavuot, right? Shavuot really is about, talking about the Torah, it's about the harvest of wheat, right? Megillat Ruth, she's involved in the harvesting of the wheat. That's one of the major reasons that we read it. The rabbis, the Hachamim, added an additional reason on top of that. And they talk about Shavuot as a time of Matan Torah. And they also talk about Shavuot, a time of Matan Torah, as a wedding of God, wedding with God. And when we went to Matan Torah, they talk about the Har Kegigit, that the mountain was above us. It's like our canopy, and we're there getting married to God. He gives us the Torah as the Hatan will give a ring to his bride. And so we received the Torah and in exchange offered our exclusivity to God and entered into this betrothal, into this exclusive relationship. Really in a beautiful metaphor. I know the Moroccan community, that's why I love that we're on this call. The Syrians, we don't have this custom. But the Moroccans have a very special custom of reading a ketubah, reading the marriage contract that is specifically written between God and man. I don't just mean the Torah itself, the 5 books. Of course, that is a marriage between us and God and talks about the relationship. But the Moroccans, what they've actually done is written a ketubah, and maybe, Ari, you could show it later, but they have an actual ketubah that they read, which is the marriage contract written almost like poetry between us and God. It's really beautiful. And so when we talk about Shavuot and Matan Torah, it's not just about the receiving of the Torah. And I think that's why we have Megillat Ruth. Because Megillat Ruth is obviously not the receiving of the Torah, right? Megillat Ruth, as our educator, Mr. Binyamin Mizrahi mentioned, Megillat Ruth takes place hundreds of years later. It does not take place at Mount Sinai. So what does Megillat Ruth have to do with the receiving of the Torah? What does it have to do with the marriage relationship between God and the Jewish people? And it has everything to do with it. Because Torah is not just about theory, it's very much about practice. The 5 men and God of the 10 commandments reflects to the man-to-man commandments. For example, Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai, you shall not have any other gods, you should have absolute fidelity. The second one matches to the 7th one. Lo tenaf, you should have fidelity within your relationship. And the truth is, with all of the 10, with the 5 to 5, it maps out from a relationship with God to be transformed into a relationship with other people. We find this throughout. We find this, for example, we talk about the passion within the relationship that we have with God. What do we read? Shir HaShirim, about a relationship between human beings. So if we look at Megillat Ruth, we're looking at a relationship where specifically the ideals and values of the Torah are implemented into real life in an actual real relationship. And so it's about putting the Torah into practice. Have you ever heard of the Eshet Hayil? Right? I think the Moroccans also, I think everybody, Ashkenazim, and everybody reads Eshet Hayil on Friday night. So the Eshet Hayil, actually, there is one person in all of Tanakh who is known as the Eshet Hayil. And that Eshet Hayil is Ruth. Ruth is known as the Eshet Hayil, as we just read, as Benny Zolta read, I believe that it was in chapter 3. Eshet Hayil, right? She is the Eshet Hayil. Now this Eshet Hayil, right, you look at the Eshet Hayil that we read from Mishleh, and it says, Noda b'she'arim bahla. Her husband is well known in the gates. Whose husband is well known within the gates? Boaz. Remember in chapter 4, what we're talking about. He goes specifically to the gates of the city, and he takes care of this Eshet Hayil. He was Nodab Sharim Bala, and we'll see in chapter 4. He takes charge. He finds people and he tells them, sit down. We have business to take care of. He is an important person. And he's also known with the Megillah as the Ish Gibor Hayil. Okay? So here in Megillat Ruth, it's not just theoretically a relationship between two people, a model relationship, modeling the relationship between God and the Jewish people. But literally, it's the Eshet Hayil, the woman of valor, the capable woman that we talk about, that Shlomo HaMelech's mother told him he should be looking for, and that we all tell our wives that they are. But Boaz also was the Ish Gibor Hayil. And that is because of how they interacted with each other, but also how they were as regular human beings. So I'd like to actually take a look at the Megillah. I don't know if I could do a share screen. If I can, that would be amazing. If not, I would have to ask somebody else to help me. Could you make me a host? Is that possible? Oh, I could do it. Awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna make you a host.
Good, I got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're in the first chapter. So firstly, you know who Ruth is, right? You know who Naomi is, right? So Naomi was Jewish. She was married to Elimelech. They left when things were bad. I want to see some faces. I'm gonna move this so you can see their faces. There we go. So I feel like I'm talking to people. So they left, right? Naomi's entire family gets wiped out, except for her daughter-in-laws. Now, what is the relationship between a daughter or son-in-law and their parents-in-law after the death of the spouse, right? Because it's the spouse that makes the connection. So you see Megillat Ruth, which is really interesting, right? We'd all say we love our in-laws, right? Everybody here would say we love our in-laws. I definitely love my in-laws. My in-laws are amazing. But here it's assumed that the commitment to in-laws does not necessarily have to continue post the death of the spouse. Okay. So let's hear. Okay, let's start from Vav. So firstly, I mentioned Naomi left, right? So Naomi left and she hung out outside of the land of Israel, outside of her homeland, away from her people for many, many years, for about 10 years, many years after the famine had already stopped, right? As it says here, they all three of them get up, her and her two daughter-in-laws. They returned back from Sedeh Moab. At some point in the past, they had heard, but they didn't move then, that God had redeemed his people, and you know what? Let's go back to Beit Lehem. Here, Naomi doesn't really feel a connection to her Jewish people. She's kind of separate. And we're going to find actually later in the Megillah that Naomi is actually very depressed to the point where Naomi cannot function to help herself, and she requires the help of her daughter-in-law. So they were taking her along the way, right? And you have guests over your house. It's proper derech eretz. It's the proper thing to do to walk them out of your house. But now some people will walk them out to the street, right? Some people will take them a little bit further down the way to make sure that they find their way home. But at some point, you're going to expect that they're going to continue on their own and you're going to return back to your house. You don't expect that they're going to walk into your house with you, right? It's normal that they're going to turn around. So that's what happens here. They were walking her back home to Eretz Yisrael, and she turns to them. Their two daughter-in-laws, return back home. Go back to your mom's house. And God should do imachem. Chaya said, what you've done for me, just walking with me, has already been great. As you did with those who passed, your husbands, and with me. Because my assumption is that your help with me, your walking with me, is not because of just your relationship with me, it's because of your relationship of your husbands who have passed. And that's why you're showing dedication to me, right? And this is what we'll call, let's say, societal norms, right? That she is projecting onto them. She is assuming that it's a tit for tat relationship, and that her daughter-in-laws are taking care of her because of what they feel they owe to their deceased husbands. And so she gives them a beracha, and please go on your way. God should give you menucha. You should both find a husband again. She kisses them and she says, okay, you could go on your way. And they all cry. Now, how do they respond? Now, Mr. Mizrahi explained very nicely that opa means that she turned her neck. What's interesting is that she didn't yet turn her neck. After this initial push by Naomi, where she said, you know what, you've already taken me a little bit. It's not about, because what's happening by Naomi? Naomi's trying to figure out what's in it for them. Their assumption is that they're only taking me because there's something in it for them. So my first assumption is that what's in it for them is a relationship with their deceased husband. But that's not right. There's something else that Orpah wants, that she's still with her, and she doesn't yet turn her neck at this point. And so here you have in Pasuk Yod, Vatomarna, both of them say to her, with you, we're going back to your nation. Naomi is like, all right, but my strategy is not working. How do I get them to go back home? What are they going to do with me? Right, Naomi is extremely depressed. So Naomi says, okay, I got to figure out how to tell them to go back home because it's just going to be bad with me. They have to go back and start their lives again. How can I convince them? But Naomi says, Shobna benotai, return back. Lama means lema. For what? For what purpose? Telachna imi, that you're coming with me. Maybe what you think is that maybe I have another child. I'm going to give birth to that child, and that'll be a next husband for you. And maybe that's why you're coming with me. But guys, and actually notice, by the way, she changed language. Before she called them chaloteha, her daughter-in-laws, she realized that they're still sticking with her. So the relationship is not just as daughter-in-laws, where the assumption is that it would break or be weakened at the death of the husband or wife. Here she realizes that they find themselves as if they're daughters. And that's why she changes her language. Shobna benotai. Says, no, even if you consider yourself as daughters, and that's a level of relationship, and that's how you feel emotionally connected to me, please go back. For what reason are you coming with me? Right? Maybe you're sticking with me because you think you're going to find your menucha, you're going to find your husband from me. But no. Shovna benotai. She responds again with the same thing. My daughters, listen to me. Right? Like ahi, beni. Right? I'm too old to even be with a man. Even if you're going to say that I wasn't too old and that I was fertile and that I could have a kid and that I got pregnant tonight. Are you now going to wait until they grow up? You're going to wait till they're 13, 15, 18 years old? You're going to wait? Right, again, as like aguna, you're going to be tied yourself down to this. Please don't do this. You think it's bitter for you that you don't have a husband? It's even worse for me than it is for you. Go home. God's hand has come against me. You have nothing to gain from coming with me. I don't have a child, and life is bad for me. The world is coming at me. Please go back and start your life. And they both cry again. But here's the difference. Now it's Orpah that kisses her mother-in-law. But here's a different kiss. This kiss is a goodbye kiss. And Orpah turns away. And what's the assumption here, right? What was the reason that she turned away? She turned away as Naomi identified because she desired to get married to a child that Naomi may have. Or you could say no. It was just simply the recognition of the second half of what she said, that life will not be better for me if I go with Naomi. As she said, Marli, right? It's worse for me, it's more bitter for me, me'od, very, very much so, than it is for you. And she said, you know what? I have nothing to gain from this situation. It's just going to be a one-way route. It's just a giving relationship all the time. I'm out. And she leaves. And now the Hachamim do view this very negatively. But the truth is, in a regular relationship, that's not necessarily negative, because you do assume that within a normal relationship that there is a give and take, right? That in our normal relationships, we're in the relationship because there is something to gain within that relationship, right? If it's just a one-way street, at some point the relationship breaks at a simple level. If it's always you calling your friend and your friend never returns your calls, at some point you stop calling. You say, no, I always reach out to them, they never reach out to me. So if it's a one-way, it breaks. And so we talk about hesed. Hesed means going above and beyond the societal expectations. So if I'm just reading the Peshat of this, I don't see such bad behavior by Orpah. What I do see is unbelievable behavior and dedication by Ruth. Ruth is above and beyond. And that's the hesed that we see. I talk about hesed in the real world, hesed being applied, here it is. Ruth dafka bah, and Ruth stuck to her. Mom, I'm with you. Some of the most powerful language comes up now. At some funerals, not really Jewish funerals, but it's taken from here. And we'll see it a little bit later. And Mr. Benjamin Mizrahi mentioned it before. Have you ever heard the phrase, till death do us part? That's what Ruth says. I'm with you till the end. I'm going to read this because it's just so powerful. So firstly, Naomi says to Ruth, you know, if what I said before didn't convince you, just look at your counterpart. She left. That's what's normal. Do what she did. Ruth says, wait, why are you insulting me? Me turning my back away from you, or you even suggesting that, is an insult to me. 3-time promise. I'm going to go wherever you go. I'm going to sleep wherever you sleep. Your nation is my nation and your God is my God. I am with you and I'm following you, taking everything that you are, you have all the way. We talk about conversion right here. This is fascinating, right? So this, by the way, and just an anecdotal point, there are two modes of coming into Judaism, right? There's the Na'aseh v'nishma that Mr. Mizrahi mentioned before, that the way Rashi understands it, right, that Ramban understands differently, but the way Rashi understands it, Na'aseh v'nishma, I'm going to first do and understand later, right? It's not from the rational. Ramban and others understand it differently, but let's just take Rashi's for now. That's what's generally taught. The other model to that is the model of Abraham Avinu. The model of Abraham Avinu was, at least from the Midrash, he discovers God through philosophy. And so from a philosophical standpoint, he likes the ideas of Borei Olam, of God, of our God, and thereby sticks to Judaism and comes into this whole concept of our idea of monotheism. But here you don't find that with Ruth. She doesn't say, I love your ideas, you know, growing up with you, I loved your ideas. She said, I am 100% committed and dedicated to you because I am in it with you, because of you, not because of anything else. I have no ulterior motives and nothing else is about my gain. It's just about you, Mom. Here's a powerful line. Basher tamuti amut. V'sham ekaver. I'm with you, literally till death do us part, even to the point that I want to be buried next to you. Koyas, and this is what she says. He said, this is what God should do for me. Right? Right, till death do us part. And so Naomi completely gives up. She doesn't know what to do with her anymore. I can't. There's no other motives here of why she's dedicated to me. I can't figure her out. All right, no problem. I'm just going to stop trying to convince her. So she just stops. Right? So everybody recognizes her. And you notice that she says to them, don't call me Naomi, don't call me pleasant anymore, because I am actually very bitter and God has been bitter to me. And so they go back. Chapter 2. I mentioned before that Naomi is very, very depressed. Naomi comes from a very wealthy family. Elimelech was a very wealthy family, like Mr. Mizrahi had mentioned. And so she had people who could take care of her. And it notes here, the narrator notes in the first pasuk, there's a goel, there's a kinsman of Boaz who could have helped them out. But Naomi is too depressed to be able to be in a resourceful state. So she can't do anything. But even though that's a scenario where Naomi is so depressed, she cannot get up and harvest for herself. She can't pick up and glean anything from the field. Right? You notice it's always Ruth that gets up and does. Naomi does nothing. That's because she's completely depressed. And so not only is Naomi not offering anything within the relationship, Naomi is depressed, and you may even call it a drag on that relationship. She has to give everything to her, physically and emotionally. And so she does. It's not until much, much later that we see that Naomi wakes up. Okay. I want to now look at Boaz. Let's look at chapter 3. Here we go. Okay. So now Naomi kind of woke up and she realizes the situation of Boaz. And Boaz, who has been taking care of her, but she had no idea about the fact that he was possibly the Goel. Now Naomi found out. Naomi creates this whole plan to have a Boaz take responsibility for her, right? You know, for example, at the chuppah, at the wedding, we put the taleh over the couple, right? I wonder, we said this is the chuppah, right? But I wonder, and something I said just recently at a wedding, was maybe this is a remnant, right? This is me just thinking, maybe this is a remnant of what we see here. When you put your clothing, your cloak over the other person, you are taking responsibility of taking care of them. And so Naomi advised her to go late at night, to lay at Boaz's feet, and to instruct him to put his cloak over her and take responsibility for her. Now, if you're thinking about it from Boaz's perspective, I mean, he's basically could be the Goel, right? So, I mean, why doesn't he not just take her? I mean, he doesn't. He doesn't. And in 10, right here in Yod, he's something very interesting. You're blessed. What you're doing now is going above and beyond even what you did originally. You could have anybody you want. You're a wonderful young lady. You're an Eshet Hayil. I'm an old man. Why is she going to him? And the reason she's going to him is because of responsibility. Responsibility to her family, responsibility to Naomi, and preserving that family's legacy, not about herself. ואתה ביתי אל תראי, כושר תאמרי אסלך, כי יודע כושר עמי כאשת חיל את. Right, that's where we have that phrase. He calls her this eshet hayil. But he takes responsibility without it being just for his own gain. Right? He says, you know what? I technically could, and you're coming to me and saying that I could marry you, and you're an incredible woman. But you know what? Maybe there's somebody else that comes before me who's really supposed to be the go'el. And maybe that's going to be better for you. And let me first figure that out. Wait here. I will not take advantage of you. Dini halayla, sleep here, baboker, right? And you'll go off on your way, and I'm going to take care of this situation. Don't worry about it. Okay, he gives her extra food and takes care of her. Chapter 4. So remember who I said Boaz, right, is the Ish Gibor Hayil, right? And we say within our Eshet Hayil, Noda Basha'arim Bahla, that her husband is well known in the gates. He is an important person. Beginning of chapter 4. Boaz Allah Sha'ar. He goes to the city gates. That's usually where they hold judgment. He sits there. In other words, he establishes himself there. He's not just casual. He's there for business. Now, the Goel, the Redeemer who takes precedence over him, is there. And what does he say to him? Sit. It's a boss. He tells him, sit down. Right? We have business to take care of. Like, he just sees 10 of the elders. He tells them, sit. We have something to take care of now. Okay. Now, you have to understand that with Ruth, is coming with property. She's coming with fields, right? It's not just a deal that, I just have to take care of her and that's it, right? I get nothing out of it. He's getting a lot with this. But what does he say? Right? And you really understand this in the contrast. Okay, let's go to Vav. Ve'omer HaGoel. So this individual, and he's not even giving it a name. I think they call him Peloni Almoni. Am I right? Is that the Midrash? I don't remember. Peloni Almoni. They don't even give the guy a name. They call him the dude, the guy. They don't even give him enough respect to give him a name. When we say Peloni Almoni, we're saying, just some guy. Okay? Back to as Mrs. Mizrahi said about identifying names. Because how does he respond? The opposite end of the spectrum of the way that Boaz is saying. Lo chal, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't redeem her. Because if I do that and I take on additional responsibility, I'm going to lose out on what I already have. I'm not willing to risk taking on more with the possibility of loss. I don't see my gain in ratio to what my possible losses. Okay. Now you see this exactly in what we said at the beginning of the relationship between Ruth and Naomi. Ruth is not thinking about what I'm going to lose. Her mother-in-law is completely depressed, cannot take care of herself. And Ruth says, stop thinking that I'm in a tit-for-tat relationship like your other daughter-in-law. Stop insulting me. I am here with you, and I will be with you until death do us part. I love you. And so Boaz takes responsibility and takes care of her. Because the other guy was a Peloni Almoni. I want to go back to the third, I believe it's the third chapter, or is it the second chapter? Second. So I want to deal with the second point. The first fundamental point of great relationships, and I don't mean every relationship, right? Because I didn't fault or pa, right? We have to expect that normally within our relationships, there needs to be a give and take. There has to be something that we're getting out of the relationship. But there have to be certain relationships within our lives that are relationships that are just completely pure, committed, and dedication. We're actually doing things not for our own self-gain, but out of our commitment and dedication to the other person. And I think that's a really, really powerful lesson, because that's not the norm. And we think about when we initially get married, right? We're sitting at Har Sinai, or sitting at our wedding day, and we have our hopes and our dreams. And I guarantee that most of us are thinking of the great things that we're going to get out of this relationship. And then the marriage starts. And then all the difficulties happen. And then you might not be getting at a certain point in that marriage all of the things that you thought that you should be getting out of that marriage, all the things that you necessarily hoped for. Maybe the other party, as we have with Naomi, maybe the other party becomes depressed. Maybe they have a difficulty. Maybe all of your energy is dedicated to them. So the question is, are we firmly dedicated and committed? And so when we're talking about ideal relationships, the role model relationship, the relationship between God and us and our spouse, we have to think about absolute real commitment. And you think about, let's say, for example, God and us, how many times were we kicked out of Israel? We had the temple destroyed twice. And God says, I'm going to do it a third time. He threw us out of the house twice already. And he's telling us, my love, please come back. Complete commitment. But there's another one. It's not just about motives. And why can't I remember where this pasuk is? I'll say it by heart because I forgot where it was. Boaz says to Ruth. Ruth says, where is it? Sorry for the delay, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to say it by heart. Ruth responds back to Boaz. And Boaz, when he calls her, so it was when he calls the Eshet Hayil, that's what it was. Eshet Hayil, this chapter 4. He calls her the Eshet Hayil. And she says, V'chi dibarta alev shivhatecha. You have spoken to the heart of your servant. So there's two major points there. Boaz, yes, he was a man who got things done, right? He showed up at the town gates and he told all of the important people, sit down, we have business to take care of. He was the man that called all the shots. But at the same time, he was very, very sensitive to the emotions of others. He was extremely powerful, but he never utilized his power in a hierarchical relationship. And instead, what does he do? He turns towards her and he calls her as if his equal, somebody who he takes care of, somebody who he loves, but not in a hierarchy that he's the boss and she's lowly picking up on the field. He never talks to her like that. He speaks to her with love and care and as an equal. And that's why she responds, Kini hamtani, you have consoled me. Ki dibarta alev shivhatecha, because you've spoken to my heart. And I think that's extremely also important within our model relationships as well. Because yes, there is the commitment and there's the always doing for the other and trying to get ourselves in a state where it's not just about what I'm gaining out of the relationship, but what I could give within that relationship. Where ahava, where love is not just a noun, but ahava is a verb. It's about what I do, not what I receive. But there's more to that. And the more to that is feeling empathy for the other person. How many times within our conversations, especially us males and myself included, do we get solution oriented? And we just take care of business. Okay, what needs to get done? What's the problem? Let's just do it. But we learn from Boaz, the Ish Gibur Hayil, that it's so much more than that. And we need to actually recognize that there are emotions within our partner, and that we may have to communicate with them differently than the way that we might communicate with others in our working relationships, which may be obvious, but sometimes we don't recognize that when we're speaking to our partner. And sometimes their communication style is completely different than ours, and their needs are completely different than ours. And we have to shift our mindset to start thinking about what is it on their end that would speak to their heart, that would console them. Not about what I would like to hear, but what is it that they would like to hear. And that's to have our Ruth, our Eshet Hayil, respond to us. Honey, you've touched my heart. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your words. And so we read Megillat Ruth on Shavuot to talk about modern relationships between God and us and other human beings. May we take these lessons with us throughout in our marriage relationships and all of those very powerful relationships within our lives. Shavuot Tov, Tov, and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you very much, Rabbi Lanyado. It's beautiful. I'm going to say a few words to conclude the evening. But before I do that, I want to thank again our sponsors. I'm going to start with the full program sponsorship, which is Vanessa and Ray Chalmi, in loving memory of Miriam Bat Eliyahu and Eliyahu Ben Miriam, Barbara and Abe SS, in honor of all the work Rabbi Lanyado has done in inspiring and engaging the community. And then the Megillat Ruth itself is sponsored by Linda and Jeffrey SS, Anat and Luis Menajed, Nicole and Marco Sardar, Alisa and Howard Shams, Lisa and Richard Cohen, Geraldine and Jeremy Cohen, in honor of all the work that our dear Chazan Binyamin Zalta has done, not just for the community, but on the front lines of the fight against the coronavirus as a pulmonary radiologist. You know, the hospital has been the epicenter of the epicenter. Thank you, Binyamin. I see you go to work many days and always with a smile on your face. We would never know that you're going to such a stressful place. You know, such a ruach. Shem yevarech otcha. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say a few words, and then Binyamin and maybe Sasha, I don't know if you respond, are gonna sing one or two PUT Mazarot. What I want to do is I want to talk about a theme similar to what you talked about, Rabbi Lanyado, about and link it to Rav Saadia Gaon. So our sponsor, we're on our side, we are dedicating the program to Rabbi Yitzhak Morali. And as I said before, he's the great-grandfather of our dear friend and member, Laurent Morali. Laurent's father is named after Rabbi Yitzhak Morali, and his son is also named after him. And today I had the pleasure of listening to his uncle talk about Shavuot, Rabbi Saadia Morali. Now, the name was already beautiful. And first I want to tell you a little bit about Rav Saadia Gaon, and then a little bit about why he's so important to Shavuot, and about why he's so important to our commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then I will turn it over to the musical part to conclude the program. So Rav Saadia Gaon, he was born in 882 in Abu Suwair. It's a small town in Egypt named Fayun. So his name in Arabic is Said ibn Yusuf al-Fayumi, Saadia ben Yosef from Fayum. Now, we don't know much about his childhood, but what we know is that he was appointed in 922 by the Rej Galuta, the chief of exile, David ben Zakkai, to be the head of the Talmudic Academy at Sura. That's why he became the Gaon. Now, Rav Saadia Gaon was also very courageous, and he lost the title of Gaon very quickly after a few years, because there was a dispute about an inheritance, and Rav Saadia Gaon ruled against the Rosh Geluta. And he said, no, this is invalid because you have an interest in the case. And the Rosh Geluta was so upset, he told him, you're no longer the Gaon. And Rav Saadia Gaon said, okay, I'm no longer the Gaon. And he continued. Now, he wrote a book, which I have here, Sefer HaEmunot VeHaDeot. I don't know if you can, I have to put it like here so you can see it. And what is so courageous about Rav Saadia Gaon is that he wrote a number of books which were intended to make sure that the Torah was not forgotten in an era where the intellectual Jewish people had a very difficult time connecting to it. And I'll tell you what the Rambam, Maimonides, said about him. So he wrote all these books in Arabic, which were not very popular. And the books were intended to show that our religion in every era, that it's timeless. And you'll see why it connects to commitment. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that much about it, but I want to write to you what the Rambam said about him. It's something, he said, Ukim'ad sheteabet Torat Hashem, lulehu Rav Saadia Gaon alav hashalom, lefi שהוא גילה מן התורה מה שהיה נעלם, וחיזק ממנה מה שנדלדל, והודיעו בלשונו בכתבו, וכל מוסו. So, if not for our master Rav Saadia Gaon, Hashem's Torah would have been forgotten from among the Jewish people. He went deep and he uncovered hidden matters. He strengthened all that was weakened, and he clarified by his teaching and writing what this generation was fighting against, especially the Karaite. And what Rav Saadia Gaon said is that our Torah is the Torah shebichtav, the written Torah, and the Torah shebe'al peh, the Torah, the oral Torah. And you talked about marriage, Rabbi Lanyadou, and all of us who've been in marriages and in relationship, we know that, there are ups and downs. And in Hebrew, to strike an alliance, it's called lichrot berit. Correct? It's a very strong word. It's to cut a deal in English. In French, we say we conclude an alliance, we do a deal. We don't cut something, we don't uproot something. And the meaning of that is that if you want to be in a partnership, it's going to call upon you to root out from you something that is often very dear to you. Root out some aspect of your personality, which is going to allow you to have a greater connection to the other side, and which is going to allow you to become more than you and more than the sum of the parts. But if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to stay, whether it's a marriage, a partnership, and an alliance with God. The first time we see this is Avraham Avinu. When the Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu that he's got to be circumcised, the Midrash tells us Avraham goes to his 3 best friends. And he tells them, what do you think? Should I do it or not? The question is, Avraham Avinu goes to his best friend to ask them. Come on, And then the explanation which is given is that Avraham Avinu was afraid that by becoming circumcised, by becoming more shalem, more tamim, more wholesome, he was going to disconnect from the people. And his whole essence was to be a man of the people, was to bring people, was to do achnasat ochim. He was the ultimate chesed, right? And so he was worried about it. And one of his friends said, you should do it. And the other 2 said, don't do it. But because one of his friends said, yes, he did it. And then later on, there's another midrash which says all 3 friends also got circumcised. So the lesson there is that Avraham Avinu was so worried about losing his essence, but by doing it, he actually reached out and he elevated everybody with him. And every time we get into a relationship, there are ups and downs. And there are times when we really have to give up something which is very important to us in order to continue to stay in that relationship. And Rav Saadia Gaon, that's what he was about. That's what he wrote about. So I want to quote 2 things from the Ketubah that the Moroccans, we read. Binyamin, if you can put the first page that I sent to you. If not, I'll just read it. So Kadosh Baruch Hu comes to us in the Ketubah and he says, Rayati, Yonati, my beloved, my dove, Boiti lidvir ve'ulam, come to me, to my sanctuary and to my wedding hall. Ki lema'anach e'ezov kol hamoneh ma'ala v'chela, because for you I'm going to leave everyone. I'm giving you an unshakable commitment. Thank you. Exactly. Ve'rastich li le'olam, and I will betroth you, I will get married to you forever. Now, where does this come from? Ve'rastich li le'olam. It comes from the book of Hosea. Those of you who know Hosea know that it's a very difficult book. Hosea is a prophet, and God tells him, look, I'm gonna show you what it feels like to be me, to be Hashem married to Israel. You're going to get married to a prostitute. You're not going to know whether your kids are your kids. You're not going to know whether your wife is faithful. She's not, and you're going to see what it feels like to be me. And Hosea is madly in love with his wife. And he marries her and he has children. And the children are called things like, Lo ami, you're not my people. You're not mine. Terrible story. And then after Bnei Israel After, it's an image for Teshuvah. After his wife and Hoshea become close again, everything is changed. Everything turns around. Everything is changed, and it becomes, Ruchama, consolation, my people. The names of the children who were completely cast out and downtrodden are turned into beloved children. And so it's no, if you can go to the next page, Binyamin, it's no coincidence that the first page of our ketubah with HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a paragraph from the story of Hoshea, because of course we know that what started with a love story between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned into exiles and turned into destruction and turns into chataim and the Shekhinah departing the world. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always here. And if you look at where it says, see, Yamim Rabim Tieli va'ani elaich legoel ki imach lemistor ulmachse ulmichse ve'ochan bechesed kiseh. This is one of the few paragraphs in the Ketubah which is not quoted from anywhere. And this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling us, wherever you are, whichever period of history you are, whether or not you can see me, whether or not I'm hidden, whether or not the Shekhinah is gone, we're married. We have an unshakable commitment. And I, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I have to take it upon myself to see you betray me like you did, to see you go to other gods, to see you do what you did. And because I have such an unshakable commitment, I'm always going to be with you. And it's same with us. Same with us. And what's our commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Next page, Binyamin, please. Okay, here. Ikdim la betorat מקדם רמ"ח מצוות עשה, מהם לא ימושון, כי מותם יום יום ידרושון את הלך אל חובה ואת המעשה אשר יעשון. ועוד כתב לה, בתורת מאוחר מצוות, לא תעשה נקדשו. למניין 365. So, our ketubah tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have the mitzvot, we have the written Torah, and we have the Torah shebe'al peh, we have the halacha. And we will always, no matter which period we go through, we will always, as a people, retain our commitment, our unshakable commitment to observe the halacha. And that's us. We're going to do that. And look, here we are. Look at how many years have passed. 1,000, 100 years since Rav Sadia Gaon lived. And we're still here, Baruch Hashem, in Manhattan, from North Africa to North America, East meets West, and reading and continuing beautiful traditions, beautiful halachot, and continuing to unshakably commit to Torah HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when we do that, V'ratza echatan lezakot et Yisrael im gorato. Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us we are here, we're the bride, and our fate, our goral, is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He will take it upon himself to accept everything we've done, and we on our end, we will take it upon ourselves to live through all these dark years of the exile and never, never leave our commitment, because this is a wedding. This is an unshakable alliance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Avraham to now. That's it. It will never go away. No matter what we do, Kadosh Baruch Hu will keep his word. And here we are, we're continuing. Now, Sadia Gaon, what he did in the 10th century, and then, in the 10th century, is to fight against the people who said, no, there is no such thing as the Torah shebe'al peh, as the oral law. This does not exist. That was his fight. He was here, and before the Rambam, when it was just such a strong current against the Torah shebe'al peh, he stood up, just like he stood up to the exilarch, and he said, you know what? The law is the law. You have a conflict of interest. I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you fire me. I will not rule for you. Look at the courage of doing that. And we see today, in a democracy, it's very difficult to do that as a judge. And he did that in the case, and he did that philosophically for the Jewish people by standing up. And what he did is not just by writing in a way that was beautiful scholarly writing, but by talking to the people. Binyamin, I'm going to try now to share my screen. I'm going to see if I can do it. There you are. So you see, this is the English translation of the piyutim that Sadia Gaon wrote on the 10 Commandments. And that's where Rabbi Yitzhak Morali, he wrote an incredibly beautiful French translation of the Arabic. I mean, the French is, to me, it's even more beautiful. I mean, I understand French better than Arabic, but it is so moving. And there's an interesting debate among scholars, not so much, halachic Orthodox scholars, but more non-Jewish scholars who said, no, this could not have been written by Saadia Gaon. Why? Because Saadia Gaon never thinks about God as as somebody, in human terms. And yet in this piyut, that's how he talks about God. But here, Saadia Gaon is talking to the common Jew. He's talking to the common Jew, and he writes an incredibly powerful poem about the 10 Commandments, which follows the tradition that all 613 mitzvot are alluded to or included in the 10 Commandments, and which talk to people in a way that not only refers all of the mitzvot, but that they can relate to. And I'm just going to give you a couple of beautiful examples. I'm going to go straight to the 7th commandment about adultery, not to give you any suggestions, but to show you how Kadosh Baruch Hu is thinking about it. Kadosh Baruch Hu is related to adultery as the adultery of Am Yisrael and him. Look what he said. He said, children of Israel, beware of corrupt practices and refrain from adultery, for adultery brings about poverty and misfortune. Stand firm in your Torah. Be content with what I have given you, and persevere in righteousness according to my commandment. Now, he who succumbs to adultery and corruption, his memory will be sullied throughout the land. His honor will be lost, and his shame will be revealed. And here's my favorite sentence. It's coming up. He's saying, see, hearken to your God and to your conscience, and be content with your bedmate. He's telling us, this is what I've given you. Now, your mind, which you need to control, is going to tell you, no, this is not good enough. There's going to be all kinds of temptations. But what I'm asking you to do is to be content with your bed. Be content with me. And of course, be content with your spouse. Now, I'm going to play for you very quickly, and then Binyamin and maybe Sasha are going to sing. In Tunisia and in Algeria, and this custom was installed in Nigeria by Rabbi Yitzhak Morali. On the first day of Shavuot, they would sing this. It's very beautiful. So tell me if you can hear. I'm going to just play you for 1 minute.
المتكفل برزاق العبيد كل يوم من عندي برزقا جديد عندي خزاين القوة الجليد.
So that's how I grew up. Where I grew up, we had Jews from Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. I just got to France, and we had a little synagogue. And of course, the Algerian, the Tunisian, the Moroccan, everybody thought their nusach was, if you don't sing the nusach at the right time, then the sky is going to fall on you. But everybody came on Shavuot, religious, non-religious. And we listened to, there was a Tunisian gentleman, Monsieur Beribi was his name, Zichrono Livracha. He would sing this. And everybody, I remember people would come in their cars, and I would tell my dad, whoa, no, they come because this is their part of the chain. And I remember, learning very early on that when somebody, Al-Me'ah V'Esrim dies, we bring a stone because it's Evan, Av, Ben, and Nechet. It's a chain. And our job is to keep that chain going. And Rav Saadia Gaon, in 922, he kept that chain going when it was very difficult. Rabbi Yitzhak Morali, in 1912, I'm not sure. His great-grandson is here, maybe he will correct me. When he started this in Algeria was the only French with a colony. It was not like Morocco, which was a protectorate, or Tunisia. And so, you're in Algeria, you're French. And it was more difficult there to stay close to the Torah Shebe'al Peh. And by writing such a beautiful translation of this piyut, 1,000 years, almost to the year, 990 years after Rav Saadia Gaon, he took the same spirit of continuing the chain through the exile and keeping us going toward the Geulah. And look where we are now. Eretz Israel, Medinat Israel, Bezrat Hashem, it's a Dor Acharon. So we should all be together singing in Yerushalayim next year. And it makes me very proud because we're continuing that chain. So again, I want to thank you, and I want to wish all of us that first of all, we're very lucky that we're married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with such a Rachmanut and Chesed. And I want to conclude by repeating what I heard today from Rav Saadia Morali, who said that the month of Pesach is the month of Chesed. We're taken out of Egypt. Wow, what chesed, what compassion to us. What did we do to deserve it? We're almost on the last level of impurity. And then comes the next month of Din. We count the Omer, there's not so much, there's no holiday. It's a month of judgment, right? And now comes Shavuot. It's Tiferet. It's a synthesis between compassion and Din, between judgment and goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's here we are to accept the Torah. So Bezrat Hashem, we should continue this road until the Geulah Bekarov. Thank you very much. I'm gonna and I want to 1913. That's when the custom was installed. Thank you very much. So Sasha is gonna do a piyut, to conclude, and Binyamin also. Who wants to go first? Where did the Jews go first, Morocco or Egypt, when we ran away? Sasha, I think you're here first, and then I'll find Binyamin. Please, bechavod.
Okay, I'm gonna do like a small piyut, lichvod hachag, and thank you for this beautiful Tikun Leyl Shavuot with all the beautiful Torah. Toda rabba. ירדי נתן ריחו, מלך במסיבו, יום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמח בו. אל נתן לעמו, תורה תמימה, יפה חלבנה, ברח חכמה. נותנת לפתיים, דעת ומזימה, ירדה משחקים, משמרונה, לעם אשר אהב, בכל לבבו, ירדי נתן ריחו, מלך במסיבו, יום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמח בו. בחר ביעקב לנחללו, ישראל לסגולתו, חלקו וחבלו, בהנחל עליון גויים, המה גורלו, תחתית ערקו לו, תוקו לרגלו, מלאך אלוהים, עולים יורדים בו, ירדי נתן ריחו, מלך במשימו, יום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמח בו. רצה בארץ סיני, לתת תורתו, עליו ובו ירד, עם כל מרכבתו, ויצב את נביאו, נאמן ביתו, לא יגעו בהר, ובקדושתו, רק משמוך יובל, הם יעלו בו, ירדי נתן ריחו, מלך במסיבו, יום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמח בו.
Wow, Chazak, beautiful. Thank you so much, Sasha. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Everybody's applauding, and we muted them, but there's a big sound in the. Binyamin Zaltam, is you there? Is going to sing us a couple of Azarot written by Ibn Gabirol, sung on Shavuot. You have to unmute yourself. I pressed it. No, one more time.
How about now?
Now it's perfect.
Okay, my deepest thanks to all of you guys organized this beautiful event. And thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Rabbi Leonardo. Thank you, Ari. This has been wonderful. I just want to conclude only like very short. It's our custom in the Syrian community to read the Azharot written by Ibn Gvirol. And those Azharot are sung, divided into two parts, the first day and the second day of Shavuot. The first day we say Misvot Aseh, the second day Misvot Lo Ta'aseh. And it's sung in a simple, but I think it's beautiful melody. Only few lines. Shemor lebi ma'ane b'mo'od ne'ayneh יראה האלוה מנה דבריו הישרים והוא יסלח אשמה והוא ירבה עוצמם והוא ייתן חוכמה להביננים ההרים אספר תושיות מתוקות לפיות ואסיב תלפיות לשיר העוברים. חזקים וברוכים. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good night.
I love this particular piece. I was trying to find it. So, Rabbi Lanyado, I'll let you do the final words. I just want to say it's beautiful to be here as a Keish Echad Belev Echad, and Chag Sameach to all.
Really unbelievable tonight on so many levels. For one, at Har Sinai, our Hachamim say that each individual had their own unique experience while all being there together united. Firstly, each of us experienced Torah and Mitzvot in a different way. There are different things that speak to each of us. And tonight, we had multiple opportunities to experience Shavuot in ways that speak to us. We had a beautiful introduction by Mr. Benny Mizrahi that really spoke to the themes of Shavuot, why we have Shavuot, why Ruth is so significant. We had the Megillah reading in both Moroccan and in Syrian. For those who recitation, and I am one of those, speaks to their heart. We then had a shiur tapping into the emotion and the intellect of how we could apply the ideas of Megillat Ruth into our lives. We then continue with Ari Afilalo, who really brought that in with a custom of the Moroccans for their ketubah, but also brought in history, beautiful history that so much of us connect to, with our past, of our great rabbis like Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon, and the great values that they stood for. And then we closed with a very powerful and moving set of songs from North Africa and from Syria. Be'han Sham, we all came together as one, unified. Each of us having our special Shavuot experience, but all together unified as one community, East meeting West, together. And so there is some silver lining in all of this, that we've really come together. A shul that is so much Syrian and a shul that is so much Moroccan. And I remember in Yeshiva University, there was always that conflict between the Syrians and the Moroccans. Who was leading tefillah? Syrians wanted to get out really quick. Moroccans said, we're going to sing as Yashir for 3 hours. And it was always a conflict. But we always got along. And we always saw ourselves as the Sephardic community. And Bezrat Hashem will take this forward. Be'han Sham Neged Hahar. Chag Sameach, everybody.
Amen. Amen. Chag Sameach, Abai. Thank you. Thank you, Sasha, Binyamin Zalta, Binyamin Mizrahi. Hashem yevarech atkhem. Chag Sameach.